Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. We are back again today with another video for you. It's the 1st of January, it's a new year, but it also means a new transfer window for West Bromwich Albion. Today I'll be taking a little look into some of the potential transfer targets for this January window and also some potential outgoings at the club as well. We'll be taking a look through, the pros and cons of these incomings and outgoings. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on those as well. Make sure to drop your comments in the section below. Drop me your thoughts. Let me know who you'd like to see come in. Let me know who you'd like to see leave Albion this January. It's always an exciting time of year. Maybe not if you're an Albion fan, because you know that we'll probably leave it until probably the 30th or the 31st of January, and that'll be it. But yeah, we'll live in hope that we can actually do some early business, get the players in that we need, and get the players out that we need to leave. To progress throughout this season. So be sure to subscribe to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel if you're new around here. If you want to get involved in the comments, as I said, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe. We're heading for 1,000 subscribers, hoping to get there as soon as possible. So if it's the first time you're meandering across our channel, make sure you come in and drop us a little subscription. That'd be lovely as well. But yeah, let's get straight into this video. Let's take a look at some potential incomings and outgoings for West Bromwich Albion's January transfer window. So let's start with some incomings. I mean, last January transfer window, we were looking at different players to potentially just overhaul a squad of, players that, didn't really fit into what Big Sam had in mind for West Bromwich Albion. But this January, feels a little bit different to that. It feels like we're kind of just trying to plug a gap in particular, or I say we, I mean the club are trying to plug that gap in particular in the striking position, and of course that's where their attentions will be turned. We've scored 30 goals this season from an XG of 44, which is ridiculous, and I haven't checked the stats, but I can assume that's probably going to be one of the biggest ones in the Championship. I mean, Albion are massively lacking in front of goal, and I feel like a striker, whether it solves all the issues, I'll leave that down to you. I feel like it doesn't quite solve all of Albion's issues this season. I feel like there are other tactical tweaks that need to be made to ensure that we can progress this season, but a striker does go a long way towards helping us out, and I feel like that's going to be the top of Albion's transfer list this season. So let's start off with a big American target. It is Daryl DK. We made a video about him a couple of days ago, so make sure you go and check that out. Obviously a target massively for Valérien Ismaël after doing so well for him for Barnsley last season, and did a fantastic job on loan for them. So I could only imagine that Ismaël is looking to bring him in again. And of course several reporters, Joe Massey included, have said that they are trying to move heaven and earth to sign Daryl DK this January. It's likely to be a sort of deal that means that Albion loan him in with a fee on top of that loan, and then also have a mandatory fee to buy the American international should Albion get promoted this season. So I feel like if we are to get promoted because of Daryl DK, if he does come in, I feel like the loan to buy, as I said in that video, I cannot stress how much you get if you want to go and find out a little bit more about Daryl DK with some thoughts of somebody who's seen him very closely in that video as well. Make sure you go and check it out. There'll be a link in the description, so be sure to go and look at that and give it a watch. But I've said in that video, if it's something, Albion feel that Daryl DK is the man for their striking option, a buying clause when they go up, like the one with Matheus Pereira, means that no other clubs could come sniffing. So I feel like he's definitely good enough for Championship level. We know that. We've seen that at Barnsley, 9 goals in 13 starts. And if he is good enough for the Premier League as well, as Matheus Pereira proved, he's obviously going to have that ability, and obviously going to have that that buyout clause in there to say that if we do go up, then potentially it could be one for Albion, to take a look at. Because if we go up and we keep him, that is an amazing piece of business from Albion. If we keep him for 15 million, I've had some comments on the last video saying that Orlando could possibly accept 9 or 10 million, and that is an absolute bargain for him if he does well again in the Championship this season. So yeah, I'd really like to see Daryl DK come in, and if he is on a loan to buy, that is probably the best possible outcome for Albion, because it means they can keep a guy whose value is only going to get bigger really in the Premier League. And I feel like he is a striker that could be adapted to the Premier League. He's quite bulky, quite strong, got a bit of raw pace as well. Perhaps a bit of a clunky play, not particularly intricate, which could provide a really good springboard for an Albion attack. If you're playing high pressing football, you're playing with lots of players in a front three who want to high press, want to get involved, want to hold the ball up as well, and want to keep the ball down the opposition end, then Daryl Dike is probably the perfect guy. And I feel like he's the kind of mould of striker that could adapt really well to the Premier League. So yeah, I feel like Daryl Dike is a top target for Albion, and I feel like he is one that Albion are going to push to sign. Whether they will or not, whether they'll back out because of the price, potentially, we can all see it happening, to be honest, but we hope, and we live in hope, that Daryl Dike could potentially come to the Hawthorns this season. Callum Lang is another target for Albion, as Joe Massey reported as well. He's potentially not a target for this January window. That's potentially more of a long-term target for Albion. Currently playing his football at Wigan Athletic. He's 23 years old. Made 8 goals in 20 games in League One for Wigan Athletic so far. I feel like as Joe Massey sort of reported and kind of hinted towards, he's more of that kind of summer signing. He's more of the guy that you're not really relying on in the January window to come in and get you the goals like you perhaps would with a Daryl Dike. I feel like Lang is the kind of player that you'd think maybe bet him in the summer, get him used to life, potentially get him adjusted, see if he needs a loan if perhaps you're in the Premier League, maybe if you're in the Championship, getting used to playing in the system. I feel like he's not the kind of striker that's going to come straight in and hit the ground running. Of course, if there's any Wigan Athletic fans involved in the comments, I highly doubt there is, but if you are there, I'm obviously not sure how he may adapt to Championship life immediately, whether he's quite good enough. I mean, 18-20 isn't a fantastic record, but it's probably on par with some of our it's better than some of our striking records so far this season. But I feel like he's more of a long-term signing, more of a kind of fitting Ishmael's philosophy, if that's what Albion are going to go forward with. And he's not kind of the guy that you're going to bring in on a short-term deal, 6-month loan like Daryl Dike, and say, score me the goals that take us to the Premier League, or score us the goals that are going to get us into the playoffs, or whatever it is, whatever the target ends up by the time we get these players in. I mean, Callum Lang, he's more likely for the summer, but he's certainly an Albion target nonetheless, and he's potentially one that we could bring in the summer, or maybe even in January. Maybe he'll be available cheaper in January. I don't know the situation with his contract in particular, but it might be nice to see how he gets on and potentially see how that deal escalates for Albion. Okay, Yakushlu, another player that's already been at Albion. This is our third and final signing to potentially bring in, to be honest. This is the only other, these are the 3 real rumours for Albion. But 27 years old, Okay Yakushlu was at Albion last January, as I mentioned, with Big Sam. He's looking to plug that gap of a defensive midfielder. And I feel like we're not quite crying out for one this season because we don't play a system that really involves a defensive midfielder. But surely you'd love the quality of Okay Yakushlu in a Championship midfield. I mean, that would be absolute filth if you had a player like him in West Brom's midfield. I feel like you look at the quality that he brought in the Premier League. He's a top 10 Premier League player in my personal opinion, and I feel like Albion could do with the quality on the ball as Okay Yakushlu. Yes, he wasn't really a passer. Yes, he wasn't really a creator. But every time he got the ball, he wasn't rash with it. Like perhaps Alex Mowatt, I think, is a good footballer, and I think technically he's a very good player. But sometimes he does rush on the ball. Okay Yakushlu potentially providing that calmness. And I mean, people saying that. I saw people saying when he was linked in the summer, he's not going to adapt to that high press well. He's not used to it. He seemed unfit at the end of the season. Pressing is much more than fitness. It is about intelligence. It's about your reading of the game. And I feel like Okay Yakushlu has everything that you'd want in him to do that. So he's got a clear wish to return to West Bromwich Albion. He's only got 1 appearance for Celta Vigo so far this season. And he's got a clear wish to return to West Bromwich Albion. I feel like that might be slightly agent-led, or, with him also saying that he'd like to return to Premier League. Perhaps that's a bit agent-led, but I certainly wouldn't mind seeing him back at the Hawthorns, especially with the quality that he could potentially provide in midfield. I mean, you're looking at a £5 million player. Do we have that money in the bank in January? Probably not. Again, he's one for the summer, which kind of outlines my point I made in the Daryl Dike video. If we do sign Daryl Dike, he will probably be the only signing that we make in January, unless we find a loan or a free transfer somewhere. But yeah, certainly for any money, I feel like Daryl Dike is the only person that we may potentially sign. Now for some outgoings, though. There's plenty of outgoings that could potentially leave Albion. And it's going to be very interesting, to be honest, to see, because there's as I said, I've got here 3 players as well as the incomings. I've got 3 outgoings as well to take a look at, and it's certainly going to be an interesting transfer window to see if they can kind of shift some of the I'm going to call it dead weight, dead wood inside the squad. You know, whether we can shift it and sort of provide a bit of wage budget for potential signings such as Daryl DK. If we go for target number one or outgoing number one, it could be Sam Johnston. Of course, our number one goalkeeper, out of contract in the summer. You'd hope that if he is to leave in January, well, firstly, let's talk about his contract situation, because apparently we're going to ramp up talks in January. I personally think he's not going to sign a new contract at Albion. I feel like he's not going to put pen to paper with the deal. I feel like he's holding out for a Premier League move, and fair play to him. He's a Premier League goalkeeper after all, and you know there's nothing that we can say that differs from that. He proved it last season, very good shot stopper. Proved it for England. You know, done really well for them when he's had the chance to play. You'd hope that if he doesn't sign that contract and somebody comes sniffing in January, you can get between 5 and 10 million for him. I feel like that may be slightly optimistic from me there, but if you can get that money and pocket that for January, or just pocket it in general, if you want to be like our owners and just kind of take the money. But you know, if you can have that in your transfer kitty for January, that could provide you a couple of signings. That could provide you an Akaya Kushlu, because I do feel, and this leads on to my further point, which is kind of another incoming, but Josh Griffis. If you can bring him back from Lincoln, potentially make him your number one goalkeeper, I'd personally love to see it. If Johnston goes, I think you need to see one of Griffis or Palmer step into his shoes, because you know, he's obviously not going to sign. I don't think he's going to sign that contract. I feel like, you know, with interest from teams like Southampton, Newcastle, West Ham, that's going to be too much for him. And I would move if I was Sam Johnston. If I'm being honest, I'd try and move. And to be fair, I'd try and, you know, move in January if I could. You know, to if you're looking at the goodness of the club, you know, you want to. He said before, you know, I want to reward the club for you know, developing and having faith in me. So, you know, potentially we could see that happen, and I look forward to seeing how this escalates, because, you know, if he leaves, I want to see somebody like Josh Griffiths or Alex Palmer, as I said, step into his shoes and become the number one keeper for Albion. But yeah, remains to be seen. Drop your comments on that down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether you think Sam Johnston is the man for Albion to leave this January. We all know who it is. It's Kenneth Zohore. Of course, if a miracle does happen and a club comes in for him in January, taking him on loan or on a transfer deal, that would be amazing. A dream for Albion, to be honest. You free up the best part of £30,000 a week off your wage budget. One of the highest paid players at the club, hasn't made an appearance since August. So you want to shift him. You want to get him off your wage bill, and you want to keep that budget and that wage bill for somebody who you feel is going to do who's going to get your money's worth out of that sort of budget. I mean, it gets a big amount of wages shifted. I'm not sure whether a club will come in for him, to be honest. I feel like he's not shown any aptitude to any of the championship tasks he's been laid down. Even at Millwall, didn't show very much there. I feel like he's not shown any clubs, and any of the championship clubs or Premier League clubs, you know, that sort of incentive to take him on. So yeah, I feel like he's not going to leave, but if he can shift Kenneth Zohore, that's going to be an amazing piece of business, and possibly one of the best pieces of business Albion could do this January. And for my final outgoing, Robert Snodgrass, of course, free to leave Albion, apparently, according to Joe Massey. Val and him have clearly had some sort of rift, some sort of fallout. Something's clearly happened behind the scenes, because he was playing 1 minute and then all of a sudden not in the side, and it can't be down to injury. He's apparently got a back injury that has potentially ruled him out. But you know, if he's not going to play, he's on big wages. So you know, you may as well get rid. You know, if Val's not going to play him, you know, it's up to him. But you know, don't leave him hanging around the reserves. Don't leave him hanging around the squad. You know, just sort of losing you pointless money really if you're going to have a player like him, unless he's trying to earn his coaching badges. But he is on a similar wage according to Transfermarkt, which is where I've got these things. You know, he's on a similar wage to Kenneth Zohore. Why don't you get rid of him? Why don't you take that money and kind of just take it and run with it? I feel like that's the best way you could do things. And Robert Snodgrass, you know, I do feel like he could have had a role to play, but he's clearly had some sort of rift behind the scenes with Valerian Ismail, and he's not going to have him in his side. So if that's the case, why not let him go? But yeah, those are my incomings. Those are my outgoings that I feel are on the cusp this January. These are rumours, of course. Most of these things are I feel Daryl DK's probably and Sam Johnson are the only concrete ones to potentially leave the club or income to the club this January. But there are some rumours in there. So let me know if there are any of those players that you take. Let me know if you prefer to keep any of the players that I've said to sell. Drop me a comment in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel. As I said, be amazing if we can get to 1,000 subscribers. I mean, we're heading into into the new year now, so we're hoping that we can reach that 1,000 subscriber goal. It mean an absolute amount to me if we can reach that goal. So be sure to click subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Drop a like, comment your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. A massive thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.